Hey everybody, and welcome back to another severe storm film or weather forecast. In this forecast, we have a very active weather pattern to talk about, so let's get right into it. Without further ado, first of all, taking a look at our alerts across the Northeast as well as part of the Great Lakes region. You can see here alerts anywhere from Ohio all the way back into New England. Winter storm watches in the blue there, that includes Massachusetts and all the other New England states, and winter storm warnings here in New York itself, Connecticut, all the way up into portions of Albany. And then when you go over here to these widespread purple areas, those are winter weather advisories from northern Ohio all the way into Pennsylvania, all the way up to New York, and then back down into portions of Maryland. And that is for a storm system that is going to start moving into the area tomorrow here. As we take a look here at the HRRR model, you can see a little bit of lake effect for areas of New York as we head in towards this evening, but that won't do anything. Little band might accumulate 3 to 6 inches, but it won't be anything too impactful. The storm begins to get its heels together here around tomorrow morning. Freezing rain already in southern Ohio with some snow breaking out in northern Virginia there. That's going to be something you got to keep your eyes on. But watch what happens here as we head in towards the evening. Yep, this is the main part of the storm. Snow on the northernmost end, rain on the southernmost end, and then when you get to the battle zone of those air masses, you're talking about this really gloppy, icy mix from northern Ohio all the way back to central PA, back down into portions of southern Pennsylvania, into Maryland, seeing some sleet. Meanwhile, up here in the portions areas like far northern Ohio, like Cleveland, all the way back into portions of Buffalo, could see a heavy period of snow. And then as we take this in towards the rest of the evening, this storm will continue to move into the northeast, and we just have a full-blown winter storm by the time we head in towards this time frame, guys. This is actually a nor'easter by the time we head into this time frame. So do note that you're going to have heavy snow coming down in the areas I literally just circled there. Ice in portions of Pennsylvania. And then as we take this into Super Bowl Sunday, at least into the morning hours, you can see the storm begins to move out, but we still do have some lingering light snow showers across portions of New England as well as New Hampshire. And then the storm begins to move out as a whole just in time for the Super Bowl. And then as we head over here, you can see we might have some lingering lake effect snow showers, but overall, storms should be in and out as we head in towards the weekend. All right, now let's take a look at our active weather pattern that is going to start as we head in towards this weekend, in towards next week. Obviously, the storm system that's going to impact the Northeast and Ohio Valley area is going to move out just in time for Super Bowl Sunday. Before we begin to watch our next storm system on Monday, starting to creep into the Gulf states here, back into Texas. Maybe some showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder with this. I don't anticipate any severe weather with this. If it is, will just be isolated gusty winds and maybe some isolated small hail. But if anything, it's just going to be a couple rumbles of thunder with that in terms of convection. But as we head into Tuesday, this storm will begin to develop more. And I could see potentially maybe a small severe threat, low-end severe threat from Texas back up into portions of Tennessee, maybe even up into Kentucky. Meanwhile, we will likely have some snow on the northern end, perhaps with a good 1 to 3 inches with that there in the portions of the eastern United States. That storm moves out, but just behind its tail end, another storm system moves in. This one, I think, will have a more potent severe threat from probably Louisiana all the way up to southern Tennessee, and we will likely have more like a snowstorm rather than just regular flurries on the northern end of this system. So that's something to watch for like states like Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all the way up to New York State. And then as we head throughout the day on Thursday, we got to start watching in New York, New England states, and Maine. This can shift though, guys, so be sure just to stay up to date with your local National Weather Service office here. The models have been consistent on this storm track though, so there is a little bit higher of confidence than what you normally see this far out, but still some stuff can change, so just continue to just stay updated with your local National Weather Service here. We get a break on Friday before a really strong storm system, at least the signal of it, comes in as we head in towards Saturday, February 15th. Severe weather possible all the way up into Indiana and even the Ohio region as we head in towards this time frame with heavy snow, maybe even a blizzard all the way from the Dakotas all the way back into the Northeast. This can change for sure as well, guys, but the thing about this one is that I'm really concerned about this because the models, the same model has been very consistent on track as well as strength as well as location over the past couple model runs. All right, so we need to keep our eyes on this system because this could easily become a blizzard in the matter of 24 hours, guys. So we need to watch this closely, and this could undergo bombogenesis if it develops this way. All right, I mean, taking a look here at a brief snapshot of Sunday, the 16th, this model showing wraparound blizzard conditions in Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan dealing with a full-blown blizzard. Dang, Wisconsin, all the way into the Northeast. Man, Maine is going to have a rough time with this storm if it happens, guys. This could cause record-breaking wind and maybe even record-breaking snow in Maine. We're going to, again, have to wait and see. But this storm does look like it could be a very, very bad one for a lot of people, especially the snowy end. So definitely something to keep an eye on as we head in towards this time frame. And then as we head in towards a couple weeks, another winter storm possible in the Great Lakes. It is unknown where this one will track because the models have been dealing with some spread within this one. But we could see maybe a severe threat from Arkansas back into Missouri. Again, all these locations will shift, or not the locations, unless there's an earthquake, which I would hope not strong enough to shift that, but storm system shifting locations as we head in towards that time frame, guys. That's what I meant to say. So do know there is a lot of uncertainty. However, we do need to keep an eye on those storm systems no matter what. All right, now that we're done taking a look at the European model, now it's time to take a look at the GFS model here as we get that weekend system out of there. Here comes that first system we were talking about as we head in towards early next week. This model run is always more intense on the winter storms than the European model. I have no idea why, but that has been the trend recently, that there could be a major winter storm from Kansas back into portions of the East Coast. I wouldn't say major like this model showing, but I definitely think there is some spread within model guidance. I mean, the European model showed it all the way up here. Now the GFS is showing it way down here. So it's really hard to say really what will happen because the models have still a lot of difficulty aligning here. But like I said, that late week system, the models are not having trouble with at all. All right, I mean, the European model had the snow a bit further south than before. I mean, the GFS is starting to pull this a bit further north. But, I mean, this is only one model run, all right? So, I mean, I'd say they're pretty much in agreement here. And you can see the severe weather threat down here. They're in agreement on that as well. So, this could be a pretty high confidence storm, guys, all right? So, we need to watch the Great Lakes for this one. And then as we take this into Thursday, we got to watch the Northeast. They've been eerily consistent on that as well. Now the weekend system. All right, what happens with that? Well, the GFS likes to show still a strong, powerful cyclone that is going to affect the United States around probably Sunday, February 16th. Same timing, same storm, pretty much same locations. However, the difference is 1,002 millibar low instead of 970 something millibar low. All right, that is a big, big, big difference. compared to the European models run. All right, so we need to keep an eye on not only one of these models, we got to keep an eye on both of them, because one model will trend over the other eventually, and they'll both be in agreement on what this storm will do. Anyways, that storm moves out, and then there's a lot of uncertainty what happens with this next one. The GFS is very southern biased, so I mean, do we get like a mix event in North Carolina and Virginia? I don't know if we do, but we could definitely have some freezing rain mixing in, maybe as far south as South Carolina, maybe, according to this model. All right, that is not a definite yet. All right, and what's even crazier is the model could be showing some snow maybe for Arkansas and northern Mississippi as we head in towards that time frame. All right, so I mean, these runs are just getting crazier as we head out in time. I mean, and there's a lot of uncertainty now, 384 hours out. I can give you a trend, though. It's looking very cold and very active across the United States over the next couple weeks. Definitely trending that way. And speaking of temperatures, it is going to be cold as we head in towards the next couple weeks, all right? It is fairly mild, like in areas like the southeast where we have a ridge that's set up down here. I mean, it is above average, but that's going to change, I think, as we advance this in time. Notice the cold air already coming in a snapshot as we head in towards tomorrow in the northern plains. Then watch a cold front sweep through as we head in towards Sunday into Monday across the Great Lakes. And then look at this. It brings another area of cold air into portions of the northern tier. You can see we can be as much as 20 to 30 below average across portions of southwestern Canada. So it's going to be really cold for you guys up there. But as we advance this in towards next week, like promised, guys, several snowstorms and very cold temperatures, though there is a little bit of a bump. All right, remember that weekend system? There is looking to be a decent amount of warm air that gets lofted northward. However, look at the punching of this cold front, guys. I mean, look at that. It's like going into the warm air, per se. All right, like I said, this could easily change on the next couple runs. But my confidence is starting to decrease that we're going to have a weaker storm than what the models are showing. All right, I hate to say that, really, but I mean, that's what I'm thinking right now. I think my confidence is increasing that we're going to have a pretty strong storm system around next weekend at some point, perhaps bringing down Arctic air. All right, now how strong the Arctic air is and how far south it goes, that's a little more uncertain. However, the storm system, and on the other hand, because it's been so consistent, very, very certain at this time that we're going to have a storm system. All right. And you can see here that it's still showing cold air as we head in towards around February 19th and 20th across much of the northern tier, getting down into the southern United States as we head, perhaps is the key word, into portions of the third week of February here, all the way from southern Canada, all the way down into the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, back down into portions of the deep south. We could potentially start to see some cooler than average temperatures starting to creep in. And that just continues, apparently, according to the European model, as we head in towards those time frames. So definitely looking cold and very active across the United States over the course of the next couple days. All right, now let's take a peek at what the GFS is thinking on our temperatures over the course of the next couple weeks. All right, starting with this weekend, they're both in agreement that we're going to get a pretty big pocket of cold air in the northern tier. However, they are a little bit divergent on how strong that cold air is. All right, so you can see the differentiation between models just proves how uncertain things can be. So, I mean, we got to watch that closely here. But you notice as we head in towards the middle to late part of next week, I mean, look at that cold air coming down into the United States like it's nothing. All right, and look at this weekend storm. All right, the warm air isn't nearly as far north as the European model wants it. All right, that is uncertain as well. The other thing that makes this uncertain, well, the GFS is way colder on the backside of this cold front than the European is. All right, this would be like negative temperatures, guys. Like in the Northeast, this would be like 2022 of December, like cold. Like, this would be a really dangerous situation. Not saying this would happen. I'm saying that's what something like this model is showing. All right, in the Northeast, that would be some dangerously cold temperatures, and that just keeps coming like the European model shows as we head in towards the second and third week of the month. Now, granted, this model likes to show the cold air as far south as Florida. All right, I don't think we're going to have 20 to 30 degree below average temperatures as far south as Mexico. All right, I'm trying not to laugh right now, guys, but it's almost impossible. All right, the GFS is literally doing something historic here. All right, like historically cold temperatures for Cancun down here, the Yucatan, all the way up into the northern United States, guys. All right, if this were true, this is what we're going to be talking. A really big Arctic blast that's going to be driving cold air, possibly some dangerously cold air, all the way down to the Florida Peninsula and into Cuba, all the way down into the Yucatan. Not going to happen, guys, all right? I guarantee you that the GFS will shift this over the course of the next couple of weeks. So once we get closer, we'll start to get a better view of what could actually happen. And taking a look at what the Climate Prediction Center thinks, they agree that we're going to have a decent area of below average temperatures here across the northern plains, across portions of the central plains, all the way back into the northeast and back into portions of the west coast. But over here in the southeast, we discussed that southeast ridge is going to be sitting there until we get into the 8 to 14 day when we start to see some cold air trying to invade into at least areas of the northern plains and the Great Lakes region. Meanwhile, we're likely going to continue with that above average precipitation. I forgot to mention that on the first slide. Sorry about that. But taking a look at 3 to 4 weeks out, I mean, you can see there's a pretty decent signal this far out. This is a pretty good signal of below average temperatures and a really big signal of above average temperatures sticking here in the southeast, primarily in Florida, but over here in the southwestern United States as well. Could definitely see some above average temperatures, and then over here some below average precipitation with that ridge. And then up here in the northwest, I'm expecting above average precipitation. Meanwhile, over here in the eastern United States, really good area of confidence where we could see some above average precipitation as well. And then as we head into the rest of the month, overall, I think toward the end of the month, I think it's going to warm up for a lot of people. I think during probably the last week of February, according to some models, we could have warm air reaching as far north as like Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, all the way into Indiana, and even up to northern Illinois. So something to keep an eye on there. Not only for temperature sake, but also, I mean, any storm system would come through would be north of that, and that would probably cause severe weather here. And taking a look basically at your 3-month outlook, I mean, you can see here in this white, you have equal chances of above or below average precipitation with more of those troughs coming through, primarily for February, but next month we could definitely still see some troughs there. And then above average temperatures down here in the Gulf states, all the way back into portions of New Mexico, as well as Arizona, with below average precipitation like a normal La Nina. Meanwhile, we have above average precipitation over here in the Great Lakes, possibly for more rain, maybe some snow, maybe some late season snow for areas maybe farther north for like areas of Wisconsin, Michigan, maybe the northern brim of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, all the way up into the northeast. into March and maybe even into April, maybe we could start seeing some rain and thunderstorm events over here in the Great Lakes region. So that may be what those above average temperatures might be indicating here. And taking a look basically now at your 8 to 14 day U.S. hazards outlook, heavy precipitation risk down here in Louisiana, all the way up to Kentucky, Virginia, and there's also a risk for severe weather in here. It's not on here, but we discussed that we could definitely have the threat for severe weather over the coming days. So definitely something to keep an eye on for that Thursday. Snow threat up here across portions of the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, but down here in the Gulf states, could definitely see some severe weather and some flooding rains, and that could persist definitely in towards the weekend. I could see this being extended further north depending on the track of that weekend low, and that's a concerning low like I mentioned many times before, so that's something to keep an eye on there. Risk of heavy snow again for that weekend system for the Northeast could be expanded westward, maybe into the Great Lakes region, depending on how this evolves. And then taking a look at our wind, yes, this is definitely going to be expanded. This could be expanded all the way into the plain states. Most of the United States could have a risk for high winds around next week or something like that. So be on the lookout for that. And then taking a look, basically, for God's sake, our tropical hazards outlook. I mean, over here in Australia, we have a tropical storm going on. It's going on right now in the northernmost tier of Australia there. So just wanted to let you take a look at that there, because there's nothing else to talk about. And as a matter of fact, since there is nothing else to talk about now, since we talked about this, we are done with this forecast, guys. So make sure you like and subscribe if you're not already. Make sure you stay safe in any of these winter storms coming over the course of the next coming weeks, as well as the next coming days, and tomorrow, most importantly, and Sunday morning. I'm Severe Storm Filmer. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. Stay tuned for more updates.